Alert update. A Green Bay police officer is expected in court in just a few hours. Officer Matthew Knutson is accused of using his squad car to knock down a man during an arrest. And the 13-year veteran with the Green Bay Police Department is facing multiple charges. Emily Byner's been following this case since the beginning. She joins us live with what we can expect this morning. Emily.
Yeah, good morning, Tammy. Officer Matthew Knutson is expected in court in just a couple of hours. At his last court appearance, his attorney asked the court to dismiss the charges, stating that the criminal complaint is not sufficient to establish probable cause. The court denying that motion. Today, Officer Knutson is scheduled for an arraignment. As we first reported, he's accused of negligent operation of a motor vehicle, which is a misdemeanor. Dashcam video shared with us from the Green Bay Police Department shows the situation unfold. Court records say he used his squad car, knocking down a man who was running from police in November of 2021. The other charge is a felony. He's accused of misconduct, office fraud. The criminal complaint states inaccuracies between Knutson's report and the released video footage. In that motion from Knutson's attorney, it stated Knutson gave a report to his superiors about the incident to the best of his memory, but arguing that officers cannot perfectly recall every millisecond in a fast-moving situation. If convicted, the charges could carry a sentence of more than 4 years in prison. Officer Knutson has been on paid administrative leave since last October 22nd to be exact, which is standard protocol. This also isn't the first time we've reported on Officer Matthew Knutson. He was part of a different harassment investigation back in 2018. He was suspended for 30 days after that incident. We'll send it back to you.